award of sophomore quarterbacks, and whoever is highlighted, I'm going to throw a question at you two, and you have to answer. Just no all opinions out on the open. We like it. All right, ready? Hot read number one. Jared Goff.
Whoa.
Warren.
Yes.
Last year, 0-7 in his rookie campaign. What do you expect from him in his sophomore year?
Well, I expect it to be much better than that.
49ers have a new GM and a new coach, and most experts say they need a new quarterback, too. We've discussed some of the QBs who are projected to go in the first few rounds of this draft, but maybe a franchise quarterback is a diamond in the rough, or not your average Jones. Get it? Get it? All right, Brian is going to break down a few QBs who not many people are talking about yet, but maybe they should be.
Well, let's start with Brad Kaye. A lot of people were talking about him when he hit campus down there in Coral Gables, Florida Tar Heels, so something to work with there.
So you're saying another year in college would have helped his fumbling problem at this point?
Maybe, or some super glue.
Or some super glue. All right, BJ, you cover the SEC and CBS heavily. What are some of those under-the-radar SEC guys we need to keep an eye on?
Joshua Dobbs is such a cerebral quarterback, but that doesn't take away from his talent. Stay with me, Jamie. Come on, man. Come on,
can't hit the ball on the backside of a what?
Couldn't hit a bull in the backside with a palm full of rice.
Oh,
but
no.
He played much better, but more of it was running the rock. He only completed 53% of his passes, so I don't think quarterback is in his future.
I don't know. Sometimes when I hear those numbers, though, I say I could probably name a handful of NFL quarterbacks that do that already, so maybe he could fit in just fine.
We'll see.
You never know. All right, coming up next on Inside College Football Draft.
But they all have little flaws here and there that makes you think, well, that's why they're not first rounders. They're going to go in the second, maybe third round.
Well, if you're including these three guys and the rest of them that we talked about today in terms of this draft class quarterbacks, who is, let's say, here and doesn't have much farther to go to get that ideal technique coming into the NFL?
Yeah, listen, I think that's a very good question. Mechanically, I'd probably go with Mitchell Trubisky, and I think that's why you're hearing about him being the number one guy off the board. There's less things you have to fix with him physically. Tight motion, good athlete, keeps his body in good throwing position all the time.
All right, from Christopher to Mitchell, good technique all around. Some of those guys, too, when they're 20, 21, 22, when you see that, it's probably very promising. Now, when you see some of the issues, some of the struggles, some of these QBs have to deal with, how do you prepare them for some of those expectations that come with playing in the league?
Well, I think the biggest thing you need to understand is...
unfortunately, a growing trend for some of these NFL players is making a mistake in their life that is going to impact perhaps the way they perform, or coming back from a significant injury. How do you get a guy there to a point where they are comfortable with themselves on the field?
You know, I think the unique things about sports, Jamie, is you feel like you have a choice, but choice is really an illusion. And Fred wanted to play 16 games in a season, and he had the nickname Fragile Fred, but he was an unbelievably kinetic athlete. There was nothing he couldn't do. 6:30 in the morning or earlier, meetings started at 8:25, and at the end of the day, they all did ice baths. So our first challenge to Fred, whatever these guys are doing, they're figuring it out. And ultimately, Fred went on to play 46 games in a row. I think he's got qualifications to be a Hall of Famer, but it started with things that...
Equation, they just have to fulfill it, and hopefully that's the solution to some of their problems. Speaking of that equation that you hopefully give a guy, we hear Cooper Kupp is one of one of the names that we should be asking you about.
Yes, I have known Cooper since old enough. You don't need to wait 3 years, and let's be honest, this league isn't giving anybody 3 years.
And maybe he gets a little neighborhood discount when he gets to work with you.
When he gets
Thank you so much for joining us, Trevor. Coming up on Inside College Football Draft Special, the Quarterback Show presented by Vistaprint.